Hi, I'm Rochelle Butler. Welcome to another episode of Eat, Move, Be Healthy. In this, the final episode of the series where I've been coming at you from all angles with regards to helping you get back on track with your health, fitness, and probably weight loss intentions. I've come at you with some dietary advice. I've come at you with some mental approach advice. I've come at you with some exercise advice and opportunities and ways to help kickstart that. And today I thought I'd bring you a recommended read, a book that I think can really be a game changer in just helping you shift some of the mindset issues, not just with regards to your health and fitness intentions, but it'll have an impact across your whole life. And I'll get to that in a second, recommending that book. But first I wanted to share with you the article I read in the Sunday Times magazine yesterday about Ronald Fiennes, who is in his 70s. He's incredible, and there's this whole he's an explorer. He was part of the original crew that first did the Arctic, explored the Arctic. He has circumvented the globe from pole to pole. And more recently, the guy is set up to do a expedition or another adventure, as it were, in just off the coast of Cape Town in South Africa, where he'll be walking underwater with weighted boots from Robben Island, where Mandela was incarcerated, across to the mainland of South Africa, which is a whole 5 miles. And the reason that this is quite racy and tricky is because it is shark-infested waters. Loads of great white sharks, and all he'll be armed with is a little, the way the article explains it, is like a remote control which sends out an electromagnetic field which sharks aren't supposed to like. So this is the guy's next venture, so this is why the article's about him. But what was so incredible, and I wanted to share with you, especially in light of this, the mood of the series, which is about getting you to shed the reasons and excuses and just get on and get on with what you want to achieve. The article is about all his achievements over the years and stresses the fact that although he's such an institution in British history and memory, and he's raised over 15 million pounds over his through all his expeditions. He aims to raise 20 million pounds. The guy, in spite of all of this, you expect some Indiana Jones style character, and I think he is that, except he has type 2 diabetes. He has had prostate cancer. He has had several heart attacks. Once practically died and had to be revived with the shockers, the defibrillator. I can never say that word. I mean, the guy in a way is a walking wreck. But one thing that comes across is his head is just there. That he just they asked him to recount a story of one of the events when he walked to the north, to one of the poles, and his sleigh that he was pulling along with all his equipment on fell through the ice and into the icy water, and he pushed the button for the quick release so that it didn't drag him into the water. But then he realized that once it had fallen to the bottom, he needed to get it out because it had all his cooking equipment, and he was on this trip on his own. So he reached down into the water and with his hand pulled it out, and in fact suffered frostbite on those fingers, because as you can imagine, they froze in the minus 49 degrees centigrade. But the article tells a story about, oh my God, in the way of that, my word, what this achievement, this crazy guy. And he ends up talking about, it was quite sensible that I lay down on my tummy and reached with my left hand because I'm right-handed. I mean, the guy just doesn't see the drama that we do. He also then carries on to tell you that he came back to the UK and had to wait for the operation to have the dead skin removed and the amputations of some of the top segments of his digits. And he said he couldn't be bothered to wait, so ended up doing it in his garden shed with a saw while his wife brought him endless cups of tea. I mean, the guy is just on another planet. But the focus of the article too is just about how he has to continue, even at over the age of 70, continues to need to write books and do things to raise money, because it turns out, as the article says, public affection doesn't pay the bills. And he's quite matter of fact about it. And even getting older, he talks about how, you know, if you've never really been hungry through any, you've never really been hungry, not through any, unless it's through some fault of his own. He has a roof over his head. So he says, then you have no excuse. There's no reason to have negative thoughts. It just struck me that he's of a different generation. He's just of that generation where you just got on and did stuff. He's so miles away from this modern self-indulgent generation where everything is about us and how we're struggling. And he seems to rise above all of that. Like I said, he is not the physical specimen you would choose if you were planning to send somebody on any of these expeditions. But the one thing the guy possesses is he's got his head right. He knows what he wants to do. He knows what needs to be done, and he just gets on and does it. And in the spirit of that, I can really recommend the book, The Big Leap. It's by Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap, and it's easily available on Amazon or wherever you get your books. And it kind of builds on that, the well-known saying, and I'm sure it came from a well-known book at the time, of feel the fear and do it anyway. But it elaborates on that. And it talks about the self-imposed upper limits that exist, and that we all have them. And there's a few examples that he gives, and you can see there's various variations on the theme. But essentially, we have this thing where wherever it comes from, on some level, we've decided that we can't, if we're too happy, that's not right. So we need to sabotage that in some way, because it seems to be right that we're striving towards it, but perhaps not so right that we have it and be happy. And so we struggle with that, being so elated and so happy, that we look for ways to sabotage it. So it's better explained, for example, when you look at success or wealth, for instance. So people who win the lottery, for instance, quite often, and in most cases, the money is very quickly squandered and thrown away, because it's a sudden achievement of wealth and everything. Perhaps people have always seemingly wished for, oh, if only I had the money to do this and all the money that are in the world to do anything I want to do. Suddenly it comes to them, and they struggle with that feeling of being okay, that they're the ones that got the money and can now do something with it. And so self-sabotage kicks in, and you end up squandering the money. They end up squandering the money and getting rid of it. And so back to status quo, back to where they were before, where they feel more comfortable being the one that says, oh yes, wouldn't it be nice if we won the lottery and we had money like that? And that's just a simple, very simple example, but the book really goes into detail and takes you through a few little mental exercises, just simple questions to make you work out what your limiting self upper limit is and how you can overcome that. It may well be something as simple as he gives some examples of siblings somebody you worked with who was one of a sibling who she was particularly good at sport and just a better all-round better achiever than her sister. And so every time she really achieved, her parents would play it down so that her younger sister didn't feel that bad. And so she really struggled in later life with any real sense of achievement, because the minute she got there, it felt very uncomfortable, and she would soon find herself back at withdrawing from that. So it's a very interesting read. It's a quick, simple read. It's not a very thick book. You find some simple exercises and questions there, and by the end of it, you certainly will have addressed or discovered your underlying upper limit, and it'll underpin every angle of your life, perhaps your career, the reason why you're struggling to lose weight, or why you don't follow through on any exercise regime. So it's quite powerful without being too preachy or really getting too deep. It's a really great fun read, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. Thoroughly recommended. Leave me a comment. if you've read it, or once you've read it, if you've had any big revelations. I look forward to hearing from you.